Alright, so welcome to Factors and Multiples, a review. So we just want to review a little bit about factors and multiples, what they are, and how we find them. So, first of all, what's the difference? Because a lot of people always get confused between factors and multiples and which is which. So we have factors, and then we have multiples. Okay. Factors are what you multiply to get a number. So, for example, if I ask for, let's look at the number 12, okay, for both of these examples. If I ask for factors of 12, what I'm looking for are, what are 12's kind of like facts? What do I multiply together to get 12? So, factors of 12 would be 1 times 12, so 1 and 12. 2 times 6, because 2 times 6 is 12, and then 3 and 4 are factors because 3 times 4 is 12. So factors are what you multiply together to get that number. Multiples are when you are basically counting up by that number, or when you're taking that number and multiplying it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so on, to get, those numbers counting up. So, for example, multiples of 12 would start at 12 times 1, which is 12. And then 12 times 2, which is 24. And then 12 times 3, which is 36. These are multiples of 12. Multiples will be bigger. Factors will be generally either the same or smaller. Okay, and I can keep going. 12 times 4 is 48. So if you notice, I'm counting up by 12s between each step. Okay, so that's your big difference between factors and multiples. So, if I want to find the factors, which again, those are numbers that you multiply together to get something. So let's talk about factors of 25. What would I multiply together to get 25? Because that's going to give me my factors. So always start with the easiest thing. 1 times that number. Those are always factors. So 1 and 25. And then I kind of have to think, 2 times what is 25? Well, that doesn't work. 3 times what? 4 times what? 5 works. Okay. And I kind of can go through. And normally how we do this to give the factors is we list them. So 1, 5, and 25 are your factors of 25. Okay. Now, what if I asked you to find factors of a larger number? Let's talk about 72. Okay. So again, start with the easy one. 1 times 72. It's an even number, so we can do 2 times something. Well, in this case, it's 2 times 36. It's divisible by 3. So you can do 3 times something. So 3 times 24. You can also do 4. 4 times 18 gives you 72. It's not, 5 doesn't work. 6 works. 6 times 12. 7, 8. 8 times 9. Okay. So sometimes numbers have a lot of factors. So if you notice, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 factors. Okay. So you can have a couple or you can have a lot. 72, since it has so many factors, is actually called a composite number. A composite number means it has factors other than 1 in itself. There's another type of number called a prime number. Prime numbers are numbers that the only factors that that number has are 1 and itself. So, for example, a prime number would be 3. Okay. So, when we're talking about prime, the only thing it had would be 1 times whatever that number is. Those are the only factors it has. So, 3 is prime because the only thing you can do is 1 times 3. That's its only factors. So, this is considered prime. Okay? Now, multiples is like when you're counting up by numbers. If I asked you to find multiples of, say, 7, That means I would do 7 times 1, which is 7. And then I would do 7 times 2, 14. 7 times 3, 21. 7 times 4, 28. And I could keep going, okay? Generally, it will tell you how many multiples you should find. It'll say like the first 4 or the first 10. And you just have to realize what you're doing is you're counting up by the number. So I could have started at 7 and just gone 7, added 7 more for 14, added 7 to that to get 21. Or, even easier, you could just realize you start with that number, so 7, and then I'm going to multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep going. Okay? So that's your biggest difference between multiples and factors. So what I want you to do now that you've watched this video and you kind of have a little bit of a refresher, I want you to complete the checks on Schoology. So there are 2 different checks. One's a quizzes and one's an actual Schoology check. So the Schoology check you can do as many times as you want until you get a high score. In fact, you can do it till you get 100. Basically, you don't want to move on until you get over an 80%, because that's showing me that you have a pretty good grasp on factors and multiples, and you can move on to today's lesson, which is greatest common factor and least common multiple. Once you do get that score, go ahead and move on to the next folder, which is your GCF and LCM mini lesson folder. And don't worry, you definitely got this. If you have any questions, as long as I'm not in the middle of a lesson or helping someone else, please feel free to ask. I'm always here to help you.